Well, that happened. Hey guys, it's your host Steve here with Geek Boulevard. I recently had the misfortune of seeing Madam Web. And yes, it is real. It exists. It's a movie that nobody asked for, a movie that nobody wanted, a movie we didn't deserve because we deserve better. Madam Web is directed by S.J. Clarkson. It is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 54 minutes. I will be going to spoiler territory here later in the video, so I will be putting timestamps just so you can kind of click around at your leisure. You can either just view my overall thoughts on what I thought of the film, or if you want to see what those spoilers are all about, that's totally at your discretion. But with that being said, let's get into my review. The next chapter, I guess you could say, of this Spider-Man-less universe that Sony's been making with a lot of Spider-Man's villains like Venom, Morbius, pretty soon Kraven the Hunter, I believe in October, which I was initially excited for, but now I'm a little worried. I think the main cast here, though, I'm going to get into my positives first here. I think the main cast, Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, Celeste O'Connor, I think they do great jobs with their chemistry, their camaraderie. I feel that that was probably one of the better parts of the movie if I had to pick a few. And I also enjoyed the characters' costumes. I feel that they were pretty comic accurate, especially Sydney Sweeney's costume, very reminiscent of Spider-Woman from the 90s. It all seemed to mesh really well, at least in those moments. And I think Dakota Johnson plays Cassandra Webb in a very fun way. In a way, it kind of mimics how Dakota Johnson really is. Like, I've seen her in interviews and her humor is very kind of weird and off-putting, and that's kind of how Cassandra Webb is in this movie. She's a little awkward. She's an EMT saving all these people's lives, but she doesn't really know how to accept the gratitude. She doesn't really know how to say you're welcome to people that are, you know, when she saves their lives. There was this little kid that gave her a drawing for saving her dad's life, and she just looked at him confused, like, what am I supposed to do with this? So she kind of makes it work with her weird sort of, I guess, acting ability. And unfortunately, that's where my positives pretty much stop. Everything else about this movie is just wrong on so many levels. Johnson's chemistry with her co-stars, while great, she phones it in a lot in this, like throughout the entire runtime. She just looks so bored, like she would rather literally be doing anything else. Also, the villain of this film, who is Ezekiel Sims, another spider-related type of person from the comics. He's basically an evil Spider-Man. He's just so unbelievably forgettable, one-dimensional. His motive, while it does make sense why he's doing what he's doing, he needs to hammer home that motive every few minutes that he's on screen. And it's always, I have to destroy these girls because I'm going to perish by their hand. They are going to destroy me. I have to destroy them. He literally mentions this, I think I counted maybe 7 times in the movie. I get why you're doing it. Just stop telling me why you're doing it. Show me, don't tell me. And that's a huge problem with this film. It tells more than it shows. And it was very annoying. Also, his voice is oddly dubbed over, which I thought was weird, and the lips didn't quite match up with his dialogue. It was kind of like this: they're going to destroy me. With all that down, I'm gonna get into spoilers, but unfortunately these spoilers are still pretty negative, so if you want to avoid any spoilers and go into Madam Web as blind as possible, highly suggest that you do so. But if you don't really give a shit, welcome. So it was rumored for some time, but it turns out it was true. Adam Scott, who's in the film, would be playing Ben Parker, a young Ben Parker, and Emma Roberts, who's also in the film, would be playing Mary Parker, Peter's mother, and, you know, his uncle. That turned out to be true. I thought Adam Scott did well with the role that he played. I thought he was likable. I thought his scenes with Dakota Johnson were actually pretty enjoyable. So I think he did fine. And Emma Roberts, as much as I like Emma Roberts as an actress, I felt her need to be there felt very unnecessary. You know, they could have been called different characters and it wouldn't have changed anything. The loose connections to Peter Parker and the Spider-Man character felt so forced and so on the nose, and I didn't like it. They even butchered the great power and great responsibility line. And I believe the way it was worded was, when you have a great responsibility, you will get great power. And I just thought that is the most ridiculous line in this entire movie. And I thought, oh, there were a lot of cheesy lines in this movie, but that took the cake for me. The costumes that are shown in this movie, while I did like, were only shown in the movie for about a minute. There was literally only a minute of screen time worth for these costumes. And it just kind of makes me think, why even make the costumes in the first place if you're only going to show them for about a minute of screen time? It just feels like wasted money on Sony's part. I don't understand how the writers of Morbius are still working today. Now, I will say writing scripts are very difficult. It's very hard to nail down character development, to nail down chemistry with other characters, to make the characters feel like very distinct personalities, to have the story fleshed out in a very cohesive way, it doesn't feel forced. It's very difficult to do that, and that I get. But these guys did not even try. They're 2 for 2 right now. And the thing is, Sony doesn't care. They just don't care, and that just worries me. Even in the marketing, there was no effort made. There was only one trailer released, maybe a handful of TV spots here and there, but it just showed that Sony did not believe in this movie. The review embargoes for this film didn't lift until I believe it was the day before or the day of, so it just goes to show that they just didn't have any faith in their own product. I'm very worried for Kraven the Hunter now, as well as Venom 3. Now, Venom 1 and 2, yeah, they're not great movies, but they're enjoyable for what they are, and they actually know that they're being silly, and they run with that. Whereas Madam Web, I feel they were trying to go for a serious movie, but I just couldn't take this movie seriously at all. It's just not a good movie. Just Sony, stop making these movies, please. This is not working for you. Your Spider-Verse films are great. Can't wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse whenever that releases. I know they're still working on it. But these films, just stop making them. You're losing so much money. And the thing is, you just don't seem to care. You don't seem to learn your lesson. This film gets no score. In fact, it needs to go in the trash. The worst comic book film I have ever seen. Breathe. Now that we got that out of the way, what did you guys think of Madam Web? Have you seen it yet? If you have, my condolences. Leave a comment down below what you thought. Maybe tell me what your worst comic book movie is that you've seen before Madam Web. Don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, sub to the channel, tick the bell, get notified whenever I drop a new review. I'm gonna go throw up. Until next time, folks, keep it classy and keep it geeky.